this video I'm going to cover the topic of trying to give an overview of what you'll expect to see on your Amiko 8900 when you first boot it up in Enigma 2. So you can see anywhere, but I've actually cut out, I've just turned on the box, we cut out about maybe 40 seconds of dead time there, just starting from this point. So we just, as part of the image file, we have our logo, etc. The graphic coming up on the screen, okay? And what will happen now in a minute is, when it's fully loaded, we will just be brought in and we'll be showing the default channel, which I believe on this box is BBC One, okay? So we'll just wait there, and we can see here we're on channel 101 and we're on BBC, and it's just very briefly giving you hairy bikers, etc. Okay? So, so the first thing then is, what should we be doing before we go any further? Well, there's two things that I'm normally attaching to the box before I do anything else. The first thing is we'll add on a hard drive or USB key that we've formatted to a Linux format, basically extension 3 normally. And the idea of this is that we have the hard drive added, and it means then if we're trying to download information like a 7-day EPG or something like this, instead of trying to store it onto the memory inside the box and corrupting it, what it'll be actually doing is it'll be storing it directly onto the hard drive, and obviously that's very, very advantageous. The other thing we'd normally do is we would run an Ethernet cable over to a home plug, something like that, and connect it in, and that'll give us access onto the net for things like the 7-day EPG, etc. But the other thing to note, and that's important about that, is when you're booting this box in Enigma 2, it can be difficult to get it to work with a Wi-Fi dongle, so for that reason I generally use home plugs in conjunction with this when using Enigma 2. So what I'll do next here is I'm just going to hold the remote control here, and we're going to just look at the different options we have in terms of how to bring up information. So I'm just now going to hit the info button here. So we'll press info, and we can see here, we just come up here and hit it a second time, and we'll just see what's coming up next, okay? So it's basically, it's giving the start time, things like that, and by pressing it again I can bring up the synopsis thing on it, and hit the info again, and it disappears off the screen. So that's just basically giving the information, this program, synopsis, and what's coming next. So that's reasonably effective, and of course it's BBC One. The next thing I could do is come along, I could actually hit the EPG button. So we can see here that we're on BBC One, so it's after managing to pull down the synopsis of what we're on now, which is Hairy Bikers, and we can see what's coming up next is Antique Road Trip, okay? So what we could do there is, you can see it's basically what you expect to see in satellite before you're pulling down a 7-day EPG, which is now and next. If we actually came along and we went down to BBC One here, or BBC Two, and pressed OK on that, what it can do is it can force it to populate that particular one. So if I went back now and hit the EPG, we can see we've populated it as well, and you can do so forth like that, okay? So that's two different ways I've showed you can do this. So let's hit the exit button, and we'll look at the third way in which you can pull up information about particular channels and how you're accessing it. And that's simply to come along and press the OK button. So that's what I'm going to do here, is just press OK. So now we can see that we have a channel list that's very familiar in terms of the layout, what people might be used to from different television boxes. So we can see here that it's called 28.2E, so 28 degrees east basically, the Astra 2 satellite, or the old Astra 2 satellite, entertainment. And we can see the channels listed here, including all the free channels, but then it gets into paid channels here, which obviously are not accessible. So that's one particular way we could list it, but maybe a more practical way for people who are just going to be using it for accessing free TV, etc., would be to come along and hit the blue button on the remote, which will bring us into favorites here. So I'll just do that, and now we can see we're in the entertainment thing. We could move down through the movies and the sports, etc. But more practical, and this, it's important to know that all this is preloaded. This is exactly how it's going to be when you use the image file that we're demonstrating here. We come along to the favorites here, just press OK, and now we can see we're in the BBC One HD, Hairy Bikers, onto the next one there and all the rest of it. And you can see that it has the information it had from earlier in terms of, even though it was on a different BBC. Things like this. So effectively down here we have more and more channels. So we can arrow down through this, or we could go quicker by paging down, and you can see they're all free channels, and you can see there's certain breaks in it there. So there's a logical breaks here in terms of lifestyle and culture and movies. But once again, the movie channels are things like Film Forward, a horror channel, etc. like that, and then into the music stations, and you can just access them in terms of that. So if we come along here, we'll say, and we might go in there simply because there might be copyright stuff there, and it might interfere with the video, believe it or not. So what we'll do is we'll just exit back out here, back out to the BBCs. And what we could do now is, once again, we'll say we're here, we could page up and down from inside it, but we can see there that this is back actually inside the entertainment one. So what we should have done, of course, is we should have chosen from inside the thing. I'll just exit back out, just a quick demonstration, because that's a common mistake. I'll just exit out here, and we'll just go into the OK menu, and I'll hit the blue for entertainment again. I'll go back up again to favourites, and I'll just come down to BBC, ITV HD for instance. And now we can see it's 1408, so it's gone to the new channel type of listing that we have. So basically anyway, you can just see a fundamental thing, but it's very, very neat the way it comes pre-programmed like that. And the other thing to note with it as well is that with something like this, it's allowing you to sort of piggyback on work that's been done by others in terms of creating a nice channel list. And that's a great thing of going with a good image file, that everything is integrated into it, and it's giving you a format that makes it extremely attractive to use.